Hello everyone, welcome to Egg Chinese. Today let's talk about some wrong ways in Chinese learning. I want to talk about the first one is a selection of two learning paths, and also next talk about textbook issues, and then HSK leveling issues, and also other wrong ways. So let's talk about the two learning paths first. So the first path is path one. We call it integrated approach. So this method is recommended. So the learning path is like this: learning pinyin first, and then learn a small amount of spoken Chinese and basic grammar. And then we will directly enter into progressive text and Chinese character reading, writing study. Path two, staged approach. So this approach is not recommended. If you are using this method or this approach, it might be a wrong way. So this method is like this: learning pinyin first, and then learn a small amount of spoken Chinese and basic grammar. So these two steps are the same as the path one. And then for this path, uh, continue learning more spoken Chinese and grammars. So this section is different from path one. And finally, then enter into progressive text and Chinese character reading and writing study. So this final step is the same. So the only difference is uh, this this section. So uh, this section will cause a lot of time and will cause some issues. So let's have a look at uh, the advantages of path one. So the core advantage of path one is simultaneous development, mutual reinforcement, and sustained motivation. Because Chinese character learning needs time to marinate. Chinese characters are a vast system that requires long-term, repeated exposure and practice to master. The earlier you start being exposed to characters, the sooner your brain adapts to this entire new writing system. Delaying character study means saving the most difficult part for last, which will create immense pressure later. The second reason is the form, sound, and meaning of Chinese characters are interconnected. When you learn the word 你好 or hello, simultaneously recognizing the characters this one 你 and this one 好 helps you build a connection between the sound and the visual form, deepening your memory. Next reason is speaking and literacy skills reinforce each other. From speaking to literacy, when you learn to say 我喝水, like I drink water, and then see this sentence in a text and learn to write the character. This is a shui or otter. You are matching a familiar sound to a new written form. Conversely, from literacy to speaking, the vocabulary and sentence patterns learned through reading will enrich your spoken expression as well. So, and also we want to avoid uh, illiterate uh, illiterate fluency and build true language ability. The risk of pass-through is that learners might reach a state of being able to speak but illiterate. This might seem rewarding in the short term, but it is fatal in the long run, because Chinese reading materials, for example menus, street signs, news, books, are almost entirely in Chinese characters. Without mastering characters, your language ability will hit a ceiling, preventing you from truly delving into Chinese culture and society. And maybe the final reason is to maintain learning motivation and a sense of achievement. Being able to read a short sentence or a small story that contains characters you just learned uh, brings a tremendous sense of achievement. The excitement of I can read Chinese is a powerful motivator. So Path 2 completely separates listening speaking from reading and writing during long phase of pure oral learning. The learner may feel bored and question whether they are really learning Chinese, as it lacks the most iconic component of the language, Chinese characters. So now we know the advantages of Path 1 and the reasons why we recommend Path 1. For Path 2, there are some suitable situations of Path 2. That is highly short-term, specific goals. For example, if you are traveling to China next month and your only goal is to manage basic daily conversations, for example, asking for directions, ordering food, shopping, then focusing solely on speaking temporarily is the most efficient. Let's do a comparison and summary. So Path 1 is recommended. Path 2 is not recommended. For Path 1, it is integrated skills, including listening, speaking, reading, writing, simultaneously development. And Stage 2, staged skills, speaking first, then reading and writing. And for character learning, for Path 1, early gradual exposure integrated with speaking. Path 2, character learning is delayed, learning separated from speaking. So this is not recommended. Some advantages or pros of each path. For Path 1, it is a balanced ability, better long-term results, lasting motivation, and advantage of pass two. It will makes you feel faster for short-term oral progress, less initial psychological pressure, but it's just at the beginning. Some cons or disadvantages for Pass 1 feels slower initially, requires handling multiple types of information at once. And for Pass 2, prone to hitting a ceiling, immerse pressure when learning characters later, potential loss of motivation later. Let's do an analog logi. So it's like learning to swim or practice breathing. Pass one is like practicing all the skills simultaneously in the shallow end. And for pass two, it's like practicing movements on land for a long time before getting in the water. So finally, this will not work. Pass two will not work. So this course will be taught using Pass one integrated approach. Next, let's have a look at some issues about textbooks. So textbooks primarily have four problems. Character difficulty isn't progressive. Lessons are too difficult. Lack bilingual support. And fail to explain how to understand common characters. Or fail to explain the reasons to create these characters. Let's have a look at the first problem. Character difficulty isn't progressive. For example, some textbooks start with greetings in lesson 1, like good morning, teacher, hello. So this is like a normal way in learning English. But in Chinese, finally, they will be expressed in Chinese characters, but these characters are not among the simplest. So learning should begin with simple characters having few strokes first. Another example, some textbooks start with relatively simple lessons like numbers, then abruptly shift to school scenario. This is also not progressive in the view of Chinese characters. The second problem is excessively difficult lessons. For example, we might be wondering if we could use a textbook directly from Chinese mainland to learn Chinese, but actually it cannot be possible because the textbooks passages from Chinese mainland are too difficult for children overseas or for English speakers. The third problem, not bilingual. Chinese mainland textbooks are not bilingual, making them unusable for overseas children or English speakers. The fourth problem may be also very important, lack of instruction on understanding common characters. In some textbooks, they fail to explain character origins or compositions or the reasons for the character creations. So this will preventing children from memorizing and applying common characters through comprehension. So only when we learn the origins or the reasons of character creation, we can understand them better and use them better. Next, let's have a look at HSK leveling issues. So HSK is a Chinese proficiency test. So they have normally 6 levels. So these levels are based on character frequency. For example, HSK level 1 characters listed below, like this. Since the character difficulties isn't progressively structured, because they are listed by frequency rank. So learning cannot be advanced using HSK leveled characters. So HSK characters are ranked by the frequency rank, but not the difficulties of characters. So from the view of characters, they are not progressive. So in summary, we still need a textbook with lessons having the characters from the simplest to more difficult step by step. So we need to learn the simplest characters first. So for HSK, their characters are not from the simplest to the difficult ones. So they could be used for test, but not suitable for Chinese learning. There are some other wrong ways. Let's have a look. So the first one is isolated character learning. So characters are taught in isolation without contextualization. We want them to be taught within a text passage. So this leads to no understanding of character usage if we only learn characters. And also it will result in inability to use or understand characters ultimately causes them to be forgotten. Okay. So if we cannot understand the character, so we will forget them very quickly. The next wrong way, overemphasis on pictographic characters and graphic-based learning. So from this table, we can see for the so among the 2,500 most common Chinese characters, 86% are phonetic, thematic compounds. So we can see here. So this category includes most characters. And the pictographic and indicative characters account for only about 5.4%, while associative characters make up approximately 8%. So only these 3 categories if we add them together, it will be around 13.4%. Only these characters could be learned by pictographic or by the picture learning. So pictographic learning and graphic representation are primarily suitable for the initial stage of learning pictographic and indicative characters, approximately 5.4%, or even we add this associated character into it, it will be like 13.4%. So from this table, we know our main purpose is to learn this category. Finally, phonetic, semantic compounds. So learning phonetic, semantic compound characters require building on a foundation of approximately 300 basic characters, using known characters to explain the unknown ones. So this is our final goal to expand our vocabulary to from 300 to 2500, mainly by learning phonetic and semantic compound characters. The next runway is excessive long single learning sessions with too few weekly sessions. For example, starting only once per week for 2.5 hours on weekends. So this approach yields poor results than starting 3 to 4 times weekly for 15 to 30 minutes per session. Next runway, issue with learning by common character sequence. So we already have 3,500 most common characters are already listed from the simplest meaning fewer strokes to most complex ones, meaning more strokes as follows. So these characters are listed from the simplest to the difficulty ones. But we cannot learn by this list. However, learning strictly by this order is ineffective. Starting characters solely by this sequence leaves them as isolated units, making it difficult to establish connections between them or integrate them into contexts allied with the habit of modern Chinese. So if we only learn from this sequence, we cannot understand them and their connections with other characters, and we don't know how to use them in the context. So this is also a wrong way. Next runway, mainly for children, that is a lack of parental involvement. Because for overseas children, the recommended age range for Chinese learning is 5 to 12 years old, aiming to achieve foundational goals, 2,500 common characters by elementary school graduation. Children aged 5 to 12 are still young and require parental participation to support their learning. So if they cannot be supported by parents, their motivation will decrease dramatically and quickly. Okay, so the topic for today is wrapped it here. Thank you, everyone.